when we first covered Skinwalker Ranch, I was the one doing the research, I guess, but it was like completely willing to believe everything that was said.
Mm-hmm.
And I have become so cynical and jaded since then about how often people lie for money. That I was a little bit more perhaps too rigorous with this one.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about Skinwalker Ranch is that it's horribly named. It has the worst name.
Yeah.
And for those who watched the video, you got the whole spiel. Oh boy, surfing cowboy for $20. What'd he say?
Aliens equals demons. Leaves equals destroyed. Antichrist equals hated. Fedora equals tipped furiously. Don't at me.
That needs to go on a shirt. We need to put that on a shirt.
Yep.
We need to put that on a shirt right now. Surfing cowboy, phenomenal use of the $20.
Oh, we got another one from Kellen.
Oh, good lord.
Boys, watch what you say. Stares and fed.
Ah.
Yeah, but you're R-fed.
You're R-fed. We know you wouldn't rat us out.
Exactly.
I
will never get over the fact that the meme is real for us.
Yeah, that we have an actual
fed
assigned to us. Yep.
fed. It's great.
It's great. It's wonderful. But yeah, so why are you making 18 paranormal entities in the showers at Skinwalker Ranch?
Yeah, I was not shocked to see how many comments were related to your opener last week.
I mean, was I supposed to not make a Ram Ranch reference?
No, especially considering we did it in both versions.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically anytime we bring
up ranches, honestly. Like, you know, there's
also Dude Ranch.
Dude Ranch.
Yeah.
Great. This, I mean, I should have brought it up in the video considering that is a Blink-182 album. Yeah. And it totally slipped my mind when talking about Blink-182 because the entire thing is so ridiculous that I didn't even consider mentioning Dude Ranch.
But we did in a previous video.
We did in a previous video when it was definitely the first Aaron Hedges video.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So anyway, Skinwalker Ranch. What was I saying before we got
You were talking about the fact that it's very poorly named.
Horrible name. So think about Skinwalker Ranch, and this is why so much of the video did focus on Navajo folklore and history, is because Skinwalkers are a Navajo thing. It is not your dog. The Amazon delivery driver is not a Skinwalker, and if he is, it's really more of a Hannibal Lecter situation.
What were we saying? What was the trend we were going to start? Oh, angels. Yeah. It's your Amazon driver is not a Skinwalker; it's actually an angel.
Exactly. You know, biblically accurate angels.
Yeah. Biblically accurate Amazon delivery driver. Amazing.
Oh, we got a notification. It just says, "Be not afraid."
It's just the Amazon smile.
Yeah.
We got one from Sherry for $19.99 that says, maybe the real Skinwalkers are the friends we made along the way. Also love you guys.
Yeah, thank you. We love you too. But yeah, that is definitely the situation with this ranch too, because there's exactly one mention of something that sounds like a Skinwalker and then nothing else ever again.
I'm trying so hard to not step on a dog, but there are multiple at my feet right now.
Oh, good lord. They are. Archie, come here. Come here. Get out of the way.
I don't want to hurt you, baby boy.
I'm just going to let you sit right here,
yes,
where you can be perceived by the audience,
yes,
and also receive scratches.
He makes a cameo in this Friday's video as well.
Yes, he does. He was insisting on being present, and that appears to be his spot. Because he's doing the foot tapping thing.
Yep, the back leg's going.
Look at those eyes. He is not present with us any longer.
So, Navajo area.
Yes.
It's not well named for Skinwalker Ranch due to the fact that
there's exactly one instance of anything approaching Skinwalkerness, and that is on the very first day they moved in, the Shermans claim. Now, keep in mind, the Myers family owned this home from 1905, or this land from 1905 to 1994. Your tongue is just hanging out the side of your mouth.
Oh, by the way, getting to when we bring up the orbs and parallel, like other,
And did you put that into the video?
No.
We missed an opportunity to ponder the orb.
I don't think you said ponder at any point.
I know, but we still could have pondered the orb.
Yeah, that's fair. We always need to ponder the orb. But when we get talking about like the whole interdimension stuff,
when you do the shorts, we can ponder the orb.
True. We met a physicist last night at the concert who is roughly our age and is specifically like a actual physicist who would be willing to come on the show to talk about physics related things when they come up.
We should do that.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah. Just wanted to drop that. Totally forgot to mention it earlier, but
maybe he can explain wormholes to me.
Oh, I tried to get him to do that. And he was like, yeah, most people like can't explain them very well because and that's what I was saying. It was like wormholes are so poorly explained and depicted because they all make it seem like they use the whole two-dimensional like fold of paper on itself and you get there.
1 second. First, just to explain why this is relevant in case you haven't seen the video from Friday.
Fair.
There are mentions of glowing white orbs coming out of orange-rimmed portals.
Yes.
And I, knowing nothing about physics, was like, I mean, wormholes maybe. Some sort of experiment gone awry. Like, you know, maybe they're trying to open portals between spaces on Earth, and maybe they found a way to fix space-time.
Yeah.
Which obviously, even while I was saying that, I was like, this cannot possibly be realistic. There's no way this would work.
Yeah.
But also, I'm a paranormal YouTuber.
Yeah.
So anyway, continue.
So I'll finish this little thought and then go to what Richard Henderson said. But essentially, I was talking to him about the fact we were started by talking about Chernobyl and everything like that. But I got to the point where it's like, yeah, every depiction of a wormhole to me seems really poorly designed because you can't fold space without displacing space, theoretically, or you're just gonna increase the amount of matter and mass in a given area that would eventually lead to a black hole.
So if we fold nothing in on top of itself, then the nothing has to go somewhere into the other nothing.
Exactly.
Right.
So, but the thing is, it's not nothing, it's something.
But it's not.
But it is. Just because it's a vacuum doesn't mean it's nothing.
Quantum physics just seems like it's the philosophy of STEM.
Oh, the best part is the fact that,
it's like, we don't know if these things could happen, but mathematically it seems that they could.
Yep. Well, that's the thing, is it all dilutes to math, and the problem is there's a lot of people that don't feel like doing the math, which is another part of the conversation we had. But anyway,
I hate math.
Yeah, it's hard to like math. Anyway, Richard Henderson from 1999 said, "Raise a drink for me, boys. I finally got a girlfriend after being single for 3 years. Let's go! You made it.
We are so back.
Well done, sir. One for the boys. You help
buy her flowers.
Yes.
Like, don't wait for us. Just buy her flowers
now. Just do it now. You helped me through some hard
Maybe
times.
not like right now. If they just go, you know, like just on a random Thursday, just buy her some flowers. It'll make her life.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Getting the woman is the hard part. Retaining the woman is not particularly difficult if you are simply a good person.
Yeah, if you're a basically decent human being.
Most of the effort goes into acquiring the girlfriend.
This is fair. You helped me through some hard times. Glad to see how far you guys have come, and I can't wait to see what comes next. Thank you so much. Well, we can't wait to see what comes next in the relationship, so keep us updated. Anyway,
if you guys get married, we want to come to the wedding.
Can I be the ring bearer?
Can I be the gritty bear?
You're just... You don't hold anything. You just go down the aisle just going...
In the gritty costume.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, 100%. Amazing. Yeah, anyway, so there was one Skinwalker thing.
One Skinwalker thing, which is the very first day that the Shermans own the ranch. They go out to the cattle pen, and they see that a large wolf has inserted its jaws between the bars and is like... What?
Was not prepared for that.
Just on the thing's leg. It's just like, you know? And it's trying to pull the... Hi. And it's trying to pull the calf out of the bars, but it can't do that, because obviously the bars. You know. What?
Let's keep going.
Okay. And so Terry and his dad run over with some sticks, and they just start whacking this wolf.
Yeah.
And the wolf is not responding to the stick whacks. And so Terry Sherman pulls a one from the making of the Lord of the Rings thing out of it, and he goes, you know, what's the, you know,
you should do with 357 Magnum. I'm awesome.
Exactly. And he shoots the thing, and the wolf's like, okay, dude, like, chill. Wolf does not respond, does not appear injured, no blood, nothing. So they shoot the wolf a second time, and he's like, yo, daddy, chill, and walks off.
What in the hell was even that?
Basically, like, old man Sherman's like, you know, what the hell even is that?
Can someone make that meme, please, of Sherman and a Skinwalker?
So yeah, anyway. Wolf walks off. They follow it. I guess they lose it at some point because they say the tracks just stopped. I guess they probably checked to make sure the calf was okay first, and they walked off to find the wolf.
Yep.
Tracks just stop. It looks as if this thing just vanished into thin air.
Yep.
Now, Skinwalkers. Vanishing into thin air, not necessarily a property they're supposed to have. On the other hand, transforming between different animals in some versions of the legend is a possibility, and theoretically you could do something silly, like go from being a coyote to being a bird. Or you could just change back into a human, and if everybody's focused on finding wolf tracks, probably not going to notice the human tracks.
Probably
not. So it's hard to necessarily say. Skinwalkers as a concept are nowhere near what they've kind of come to be in pop culture. Because in reality, a skinwalker is a medicine man, or a witch, you know, to put it in more Western terms, a shaman, who, I had some people who were like, using the term shaman immediately tells me you don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, dude, I know the term's medicine man. I'm using the terms that are going to apply for everybody. Like, this is a video that's being made for several 100,000 people to watch, not for, like, an academic audience at a conference. Like, chill. Relax.
Yeah.
It's like when I was trying to explain the relationship between humans and Neanderthals. So I went to r/ask anthropology. And I don't know why I thought I was going to get any useful answer on Reddit, because it was basically a bunch of anthropologists who were like, because I said, you know, the way I've kind of been conceptualizing this is that we explain it as the difference between dogs and wolves, where they're, you know, they can breed together, but they're not quite the same thing. So it doesn't quite it doesn't quite fit within the traditional idea of a species is something that can only mate within itself. And they were like, well, comparing it to dogs and wolves is really reductive, and you should really become an expert in this before you try to blah, 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 blah. And I was like, dude, I'm just trying to explain it to a layman.
Yeah.
Like, I understand the taxonomical difference. I'm talking about a metaphor. I get that you STEM people have no idea what that is, but, like, you know, if you read a book for once in your life that wasn't a science textbook, you might be on the same page as me. I love my science friends. I just really hate Reddit.
Amazing.
So yeah, no, it was all some silly goofiness and some nonsense.
We love that.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a shaman, a witch, a medicine man who practices bad medicine. Bad medicine, of course, being dark magic, bad magic.
I thought it was the song by Bon Jovi.
No. They might practice that too if they're in a band.
Wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, the Skinwalkers.
Could you imagine if a medicine man, a bad medicine man, a skinwalker,
was a bass player
for Bon Jovi and played the song Bad Medicine whenever he was getting into his zone?
We could do a parody of it called Bad Medicine Man, and it's about skinwalkers. Yeah, that would probably work. We should do that.
Yes. Among the other, like, 12 things we said we were going to do.
Yeah. I'm struggling so much right now trying to remain on topic.
It's okay.
Yeah, so they practice dark magic. I went over all, you know, the majority of the steps here. It's not totally certain because the Navajo don't like explaining to people how you do something you're not supposed to do. That is culture bound to them. I have had several Navajo folks, though, correct me on some things, offer some wisdom, you know, both with my requesting it and without, which it's fine. If I get something wrong, tell me. But when it comes to the situation with the skinny boys, there is some sort of system of elders. There is an idea of a community here. You have to begin your journey under the guidance of somebody who's already a skinwalker. They're going to tell you what exact steps to take. One of the most famous steps there is killing a close family member or friend, betraying somebody that you love. That's kind of like the final step here, is the idea. There's some other steps, but again, it's not clear because they don't like sharing. After you do that, the process of actually doing the transformation varies. If you talk to some people, they're going to say that it's a spiritual transformation, that you're not physically undergoing any sort of alterations to your body. There's a more literal translation of it too, which is that these people do physically transform into animals. Who's to say?
It's a good question. Also, we just got a super chat from my mom for $50.
Hi, Mrs. Thornberry.
Hi, Mom. She says, just want to tell you guys how proud I am of you both. You've come a long way with these podcasts, and you continue to impress me. Sending love.
Thank you, Mrs. Thornberry.
Thank you, Mom. Hope things are going well.
Where were we?
We were talking about the fact that Navajo people will correct you, and the Skinwalkers are, you know.
So the Skinwalker, after you have also, by the way, the whole don't say Skinwalker thing is such internet garbage. You're supposed to not say the Navajo term. The Navajo term doesn't even actually translate to Skinwalker. It translates to it goes on all fours. And no, I will not tell you what it is. That is not my job. In the same way that Wendigoon really doesn't like it when I hold this book up, I really don't like it when people say that word around me.
Yep. Fair.
So it is so funny how upset he gets about this silly little book.
What was it, the name? It was like Amy, and he was like, stop it. Stop it. Don't say it.
The Vessel of Brass. The Magic Ring or Disc of Solomon.
I can hear him thundering, like, in our direction now.
You are missing out. We've got the Magical Triangle of Solomon. We've also got the Hexagram of Solomon.
Ooh.
But don't get too ahead because there's also the Pentagram of Solomon.
I knew it was coming.
It had to be coming.
Yep.
The Magical Circle. Classified list of the 72 chief spirits of the geisha according to the respective rank. Interesting. Okay.
What's with the number 72 in religions?
This is in there a lot.
Interesting.
I don't know. I mean, 72 demons, 72 virgins. Everyone's got a silly little 72 thing going on, I suppose.
Yes.
Yeah. In either case, that seems like too many. Like 72 demons and 72 virgins, it seems like too many in both cases.
It's a weird context for either of them as well.
Yeah, like, very odd.
72 skinwalkers.
72 naked skinwalkers in the showers at the Skinwalker Ranch. Oh, Lord.
Anyway, so there's not really much evidence of any form of skinwalkers at Skinwalker Ranch, but
there's a lot of UFO anomalies. There were some cattle mutilations which were photographed. Now, of course, you could stage a photograph. That's kind of the general issue I have with the topic of Skinwalker Ranch. There is almost no hard evidence for anything, and a ton of the actual readings they came up with when they were doing both the show and the actual research back in the day was they were catching their own equipment. They were catching the electromagnetic frequencies of their own equipment in a lot of cases.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because they were looking for EMF waves.
And also, like, the good point you brought up of Area 51 being close by. And
Hill has tested experimental aircraft as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking at a place that was well within range of any experimental jet aircraft.
I love that the company who made the Corsair also made a plane called the Pancake.
Yeah.
That is fantastic.
The Flying Pancake.
Yeah.
I think, was it Vought?
Yeah.
Yeah. Vought had a disc-shaped, I think the version that actually made it to market was called the Flying Flapjack, which means the marketing department was like, they were like ready to hand it over to the military, and the marketing department was like, give me that. Flapjack.
Yeah.
And the STEM boys are like, I don't understand. It looks like a pancake and it flies. And the marketing person was like, you might have heard of this thing called culture.
Have you ever heard of alliteration? No, I don't see the usefulness.
Exactly. I just picture all of the scientists involved in any of this as like Vulcans, like Spock.
I don't know, after watching Oppenheimer, apparently they're not too far removed from those of the artist culture as well.
I feel like that may or may not have been partially the fact that the movie was made by an artist.
Fair, but the history doesn't lie.
True.
Oppenheimer had that dog in him.
He did. He got that sloppy Toppenheimer.
He really just didn't know where to...
The communicy.
He didn't know where to stop in any aspect of his life.
No, absolutely not. The Truman scene was so weird, too.
It was. I also love how, I think I said this at last time, but just the fact that Gary Oldman is trying to get every leader in World War II role, like, just crossed out.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Ugh. Every leader in World War II?
I would not be shocked.
Gary Oldman is Emperor Hirohito.
I could see him as Mussolini.
Yeah, that would work.
Right.
Yeah, anyway, this is actually topical because all of the UFO stuff seems to happen as soon as we brought over a bunch of Nazi scientists who were working on UFO stuff in Germany. Funny coincidence, isn't that? Like,
shocking.
There were a bunch of plans that we found, and they were like, this is weird. This is a flying disc. And then in 1947, everybody's like, that's weird. That appears to have been a flying disc.
What's this?
I'm not discounting the possibility of aliens. I just feel the need to point out.
Wait. This is news to me. What UFO research was going on in Germany?
Oh, not UFO research. They were researching flying wings, flying discs, flying bell-shaped aircraft. Now, of course, all of the UFO people say the obvious thing, which is, well, they got all of that from the aliens. My argument would be, if they got it from the aliens, why didn't it work?
If they had alien technology, why didn't they win?
Yeah, did the aliens, maybe the aliens were like, nobody on this planet is good. But if we give it to the really bad guys and we give them the stuff that doesn't work, then maybe the guys who are currently the good guys will eventually get our hands on the technology and fix it. Right?
Did we invite the missing Enigma on for tonight?
For tonight?
Yeah.
Did we? Were we supposed to? Did I fuck up with scheduling? I may have fucked up with scheduling. I will reach out to him because I am so sorry. I've been totally all over the place for the last week. You know this.
This is true.
Yeah, that's my bad. I did want to have him on. We'll get him on soon. That was my fault. I'm gonna right now text him because I feel so bad. I got totally sidetracked with everything. Hang on. We got mixed up with scheduling.
He's in the chat.
Oh, he is?
Was, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I totally, that is totally my fault. There we go. Yeah, if you're still hanging out, dude, I am so sorry. It was just totally slipped my mind. We've had 8 million things in the fire this week.
It's been a busy few weeks.
Yeah, we ended up having to reschedule one of our other podcasts, and I had to do 8 Twitch streams. We have another podcast that's coming up this coming Thursday. So yeah, that is my fault. I'm so sorry. But yeah, we want to have you on. It was just a total missed connection. My bad. I sent you a message on Twitter, so hopefully we can work it out. That's totally on me.
No.
So I hope that's not disrupting too much of your life.
Did we have something scheduled on the calendar?
No, that's what happened. Is we agreed on it, and it was 2 messages, and I meant to put it in the calendar, and I just never got to it.
Got it.
Yeah, so that is entirely my fault. Hopefully we're chill.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but I do not remember what we were talking about.
We were talking about, we had just transitioned away from Germany doing UFO / experimental aircraft in the war, making fun of them for losing.
Sorry, I'm just looking through. Yeah, we did forget. It happens. I'm sorry, but yeah. We really did want to have him on. Mm-hmm. That was not like a little thing. I was excited to have him on. It was just what
were we going to talk about?
Just missing 411 in general. Obviously next week would be great for that. If you're still hanging here and you're still good to come on in September, we would love to have you on for that. This was really just I had too many things in the fire, too many gears turning, and I missed it.
He said, "It's all right, boys, unless you want me to come on now and give you a verbal shellacking."
I mean, if you'd like to,
we could
pull up a Google Meet right now, and we would happily take the shellacking.
Yeah, it could be fun.
It's up to you. I'm gonna wrap. I'll wrap this up really quick. While do you want to? I'll hand you the phone if you want to send him an email.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, if you want to send him that, and I'd be happy to sit and do the podcast even for a little bit longer tonight, if it means that we get to have you on. That was totally my fault. I'm so sorry. Yeah, it's up there. Yep. But yeah, we'll send you an email right now with a calendar link, and if you want to pop in there, Aiden will have it up over here, and we can pull you up in 2 minutes. But yeah, that was entirely my fault.
Hang on, keep that open. Yep. I got to copy the email.
But yeah, to just kind of finish up what I was saying about the UFO stuff. I do not. I'm not one who's going to sit here and be like, oh, no, UFOs can't possibly be real. There's definitely not aliens. It's just that a lot of the evidence that I see specifically with Skinwalker Ranch is hearsay. And it's there's always a convenient excuse for why there was no footage, for why there was no police call. Like all these cattle mutilations. It's, oh, well, we ranchers just handle these things internally. We just handle them ourselves. That's possible, but how am I supposed to know that? Like, how am I supposed to believe you when you say that to me, you know? Yeah, it's just, I struggle with it. The Roswell stuff I'm more intrigued by. And when we look at what they were saying, okay, cool. When we look at what they were saying in these hearings recently, it's, oh, well, were there pilots? There were non-human biologics. Don't screw around with me. Like,
if we're at the point of confirming anything that was non-Earth origination, in
also,
some form of...
Missing Enigma, if you're still here, we did just send you a calendar invite. You are absolutely welcome to hop onto the show.
Yeah,
we got an hour left, so
I'm gonna pull it up on here. Just so.
But you were saying?
Yeah, like, what is the... If you're saying non-human biologics or non-terrestrial biologics,
yeah,
you're confirming
something
from non-Earth. Why not just say it?
Exactly. And it's just like,
if you're already going 90% of the way.
Hang on, I hope it's gonna let me do this with the camera.
Should.
Give me 1 second here. We're gonna transition over. Okay, cool.
All right.
That could have gone better.
Yeah, sorry about that, man.
Yeah, I feel
quite all
very
right.
bad. Yeah, no, I was actually super excited.
Let this be a lesson to you, boys.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
You know, maybe tell him when we're scheduling something instead of just me doing it myself.
Yeah,
because I have the memory of a walnut.
We might need to make sure I'm CC'd on all communication.
Yeah, that was a Twitter one. That was the problem. But anyway, I'm happy to have you on here right now because we actually just were filming for a Missing 411 video. So we're going to talk about that one a little bit more at length next week. But yeah, we were doing the Stacey Aris case, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Have you ever covered that one?
Did you go to Yosemite?
No, unfortunately, we do not have the budget to travel anywhere.
You're on the East Coast, right?
Yeah, we're over here.
So that's a bit of a drive or flight.
Yeah, we've personally gone to the Tom Mesk and Dennis Martin spots, but we haven't.
I saw you did a video on that. I haven't watched it yet. It looked like a full length documentary, which is and I should watch it because I get requested to do that all the time. The Tom Messick one, and it's one I've never. It's the authorities in charge of it. They don't want to talk at all.
No, they do not.
That's the experience I've had.
We were able to get the sheriff, the deputy.
Oh, really?
A deputy of the sheriff's department, and that was it. And he was like, I can answer some questions. I was only there. Right.
Yeah. No, that one's that's a difficult one. It's good on you guys for doing it though.
It was. I mean, it was a fun one. I'm getting up there in New York. That was before we had any money to be doing any of this.
Yeah, I think it's hilarious that we did it as early as we did.
Stayed at the Days Inn in Albany, New York. But yeah, I mean, so you've been to some of these locations, and of course I've seen. I actually used your video on Aaron Hedges was a huge resource for us when we kind of revisited it. A lot of the information that you got your hands on, I was really impressed because I have not been able to get my hands on that kind of stuff. So.
I had help.
Yeah, so I guess what's your background?
Nothing too impressive. I mean, in terms of like if you're looking for like credentials, I mean, I don't really have any other than a good head on my shoulders, and I'm pretty good at investigating, and I got an interest in this topic, and most of the time that's all you really need.
Right.
I mean, and when I make a video, I'm not really telling people like, presenting it and saying, take my word for it. This is what happened. I try to, back it up. So, don't take my word for it. Do my best to present you the evidence. I noticed you guys do the same thing or similar, I watched your video on Charles McCuller because I was thinking about doing that again. That was the first video I ever did. And I did it terribly. Yeah, you got the FBI files. Yeah, right. I know. Sometimes you have to revisit because you're like, oh, wow, that's really outdated now.
That's
I
kind of
gotta
what we've been
update it.
doing recently is been going back and looking at some of our older cases that we covered, and we're like, we could have done better with that one. And so I guess, for you, is that kind of what happened with you? Were you just interested in the whole missing 411 thing, started to look into it, and then started to see that there was something off?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I was interested in missing persons cases before that because uh, when I would go camping or hiking with my family, my
Mhm.
dad used to always talk about, oh, people would disappear without a trace out here and that kind
Right.
of thing. And I didn't really know who he was talking about or anything specific, but that was something that always interested me. And that's kind of where it started. Just the mystery of it. Why do people go missing? And
Right.
I can't lie. Missing 411. That's what really took missing persons cases mainstream,
Yeah.
or at least got people really interested in them, for better or worse. But I mean, as you may know, I have certain disagreements with missing 411.
Yeah.
I think you might too.
Yeah.
In certain aspects. I mean, I can appreciate that he's brought it into the public eye.
Are we willing to go into some of the disagreements that both of you have for those in the the viewership that aren't familiar with where you guys stand on the whole topic?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to ask is, I guess if you had to like say what I would start with this question, what was for you, was there any specific moment where you were like, wait a second? Because I know mine.
There was a few. I mean, I started getting suspicious back when I was like covering really old cases, and I would read newspaper articles and I'd be like, wow, this story is very different
Mhm.
from how I heard it. And then Aaron Hedges really solidified it for me, because, when you make a documentary movie, and that was kind of like the center point of that movie, that was like a really big
Yeah, that was
featured
the big one.
case. And, when you got a budget and you got a lot of researchers or, whatever, to ignore a lot of like really important elements like that, or you either ignore them or you didn't research thoroughly enough.
Yeah.
But
Was it the alcoholism thing that it wasn't mentioned at all in the documentary?
yeah, that bothers me because
Yeah.
that's really important. I mean, because I understand if you would want, people might want to leave that out because it's really sensitive,
Yeah.
but to
It's an
leave that
important
out and then
aspect of the case.
right, if you leave that out and then go, wow, this is mysterious. Well, it's mysterious because you left out a really important element.
And I don't know how much you talked to any of the law enforcement up there, but from what they were telling me, like he knew that. He was well aware, like he was told by the sheriff's department that Aaron Hedges was a recovering alcoholic and just left it out.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
When I talked to Ronneberg, the Sweetgrass County sheriff, he just said, that he had about an hour-long interview for the movie, and they cut it down, but that's pretty normal.
That's what
But
happens.
he said yeah, and but he said he gave them important details like the shoes and what he really thought about the shoes and stuff. And yeah, I don't know. To me, when I didn't speak to too many law enforcement related to that case, but it seemed like he ignored the Park County investigation, which was kind of the main investigation. They were the ones who looked into, why he went missing in the first place. And then Sweetgrass County just found the body. And
from what Sweetgrass told me, Park would not give him anything.
Really?
Yeah, and that's why Sweetgrass County is the ones he's talking to, right? Because it would make more sense for it to be Park County. But apparently they did not want to talk to him. And on the one hand, I get it. We're talking about very, very small communities here by comparison to what a lot of people are accustomed to. Over here on the East Coast, Philadelphia area is 3.5 million people. That's like 5 times the state of Montana. And
Yeah.
that's 5 counties. So when I look at that, I'm like, all right, this is their business. This is one of their guys. They don't want some big Hollywood movie producer coming in and bugging them for it. But at the same time, like, it probably would have been helpful for everybody if they'd cooperated. And I don't know if you run into this as much as we do, but as much as I want to commend law enforcement when they do the right thing and they try a lot, I notice on a lot of occasions it seems like they shoot themselves in the foot by not accepting outside help or publicity and kind of keeping everything really close to the vest. And it's egregious with Canada. But
I was going to say, the RCMP is the gold standard for what not to do in a missing persons case.
I don't know how much you looked into Canada, but oh my God. But yeah, so that's...
Yeah, I know a little bit about Canada in terms of, I don't know, they're just really hard to deal with.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised, Stacey, like you said, you were doing the Stacey Harris case, and it's like, that's one I've not really even considered because the NPS doesn't want to talk about that
No,
one
they do not.
at all.
And that
And
was
it's so old.
that was one of the weirdest things about it is when I went and looked for files. Didn't take me that long to find the Charles McCuller stuff. It didn't take me that long to find the Dennis Martin stuff. Stacey R's stuff didn't take long either because it was on the National Park Service website. The only problem is for Dennis Martin and Chuck McCuller, there's like 50, 60, 70 pages of documents, and there's a few redactions. With the Stacey R's case, there's 21 pages, and it's all newspaper clippings, maps, and photos, and no actual information about the case itself. So if you ever do look at that one, I'm happy to send you the notes we have because there's not much else to do. But that's
if they had a suspect, he's probably dead.
Oh yeah.
So it's really bizarre that they are keeping that so tightly shut still. I don't know.
And that was the weirdest part for me too when I was looking at the exemption they used to deny the FOIA request, because that's one of the things where like I have to give a lot of credit to Politis. That FOIA request and the appeal are both on the internet. He did not lie about requesting that information, and it would be really easy to lie about requesting that information. He didn't. I'm going to give him credit where credit's due. I do still respect the guy, and I think he's done good work. I just think that, there's, at a certain point, the profit incentive appears to have gotten to him.
I think so.
Which is unfortunate, but I do think he's a true believer in what he's talking about. I just think cognitive, the confirmation bias at that point has to be extraordinary. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing we see when we cover Graham Hancock and stuff. But
oh yeah,
yeah. The weird part is the exemption they used for the Stacey R's case was exemption 7A, and that is they cannot release information if it was obtained by law enforcement for law enforcement purposes. Stacey R's case was never a criminal investigation. There was a moment where they were like, the newspaper confirms, we are considering foul play as part of the routine investigative process, but at no point was this, we're looking for a murderer, we're looking for a kidnapper, anything along those lines. It was just, we're not sharing this information with you. And that's, I think, why this case specifically is so odd. I don't know how much you know about it. If you go and you watch a lot of stuff. Also, there's some weird things like David Politis says there was a lens cap found. There was no lens cap found. That was the moment for me. That was the one that got me.
The lens cap.
Was the lens cap. Because I was like, that is... The only reason I can think he added it in is that the lens cap is supposedly found on a rock or a log right next to a lake, which adds in the missing 411 profile point of near water. That is the only reason I can think of to include it.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't looked into that. I mean, I know the general story, but I don't know. Sometimes government agencies they'll pull exemptions out of nowhere for no good reason. I've run into it a lot. The worst offender in my mind is San Bernardino County in California.
Really?
I want to sue them because I've just tested the water with them, and I one time requested a case that was just a kid who got lost and was found. Mm-hmm. That's the whole story. That's it. He got lost. It was found. A successful SAR. And they said they can't give any information to me because it is law enforcement or potential criminal enforcement proceedings with that.
Yeah.
But it's complete BS. It's just they can just throw an exemption out there and they'll hope you won't take them to court or something.
And it works.
It works for sure.
I'm sitting here and I'm like, there's a lot of things where we've gone through and just not been able to get our hands on something. And people are like, well, why not file a FOIA request? And I'm like, and wait 6 months for them to tell me no.
Oh yeah.
No,
I mean, if you file a FOIA with the NPS right now, you're looking at like 18 months.
Yeah,
because in certain agencies they just have like one person working there. Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous.
And that's government. Is they do a ton of their stuff to a ton of the process. Is the punishment is the term I hear used all the time. Is like they can't tell you no, you can't have this, but they can make you jump through every possible hoop to get it.
Oh, they will, yeah.
Oh, well, but the thing is, they can tell you that no, you can't have.
At the end of the day, yeah.
That's the thing. Is true. Like the things we learned about. So I don't know if you're familiar with this at all. I don't know why you would be, but I went to school. Part of my degree was for journalism, and some of which what we covered was submitting FOIA requests officially as like a journalist, even with the backing of, let's say you're working for the New York Times. At the end of the day, they have their own exemptions, like you were talking about the one previously, but it's like. We would go through strategy of how to submit a FOIA request to minimize the chances of being rejected.
Yep.
And it's like, because it's really it's totally up to them. And it reminds me of, not to bring up this show again, but it reminds me of episode like 3 or 4 in Chernobyl, where in the Soviet Union, it's all the time. But in the Soviet Union, she had to go and try and get some information about I think it was the RBMK reactors, to figure out, like, you know, how to fix the problem.
Right.
And she submitted to request a few documents. They crossed out like 3 out of the 4 she asked for, and they were like, no, you get this one. And it's like, we laugh at that because it's ridiculous. But then when we try and do something about, like you just said with San Bernardino, an open and shut case, it's the same thing. It's such a horrible standard that I don't think gets enough attention.
Yeah. And a couple that I also wanted to ask you specifically about. One, obviously we talked about Aaron Hedges. Your video on Aaron Hedges is what changed my mind on Aaron Hedges. So I have nothing further to say on that other than great job, because that was like,
appreciate it.
I was astonished at how much police information you had there. You know, and that was just, I was very impressed as a fellow researcher and content creator on the subject. The other one that you've gotten a lot of high praise for, that we've also covered, was Dennis Martin.
Yeah.
And I was curious, you know, where you netted out on that one, because I haven't had time to watch any of your stuff on it.
I've done 3 videos on it. You know, I did the initial video, and then I did the FBI files when they got released on the FBI's vault. And then I interviewed Michael Bouchard. I mean, when I first, initially, I was never going to make a Dennis Martin video, because I had heard that story 1,000 times on the radio by Polites or whatever. And I was like, what? I got nothing I could add to that story. Everyone knows that story. They don't want to hear me retell it. And then, you know, as you're aware, the NPS literally had it sitting on their website this whole time. And when I grabbed that file and looked at it, like on the 3rd page, I just started seeing stuff that I was like, wait, I thought that's different than what Polites, you know, he talked about, like, no one knows who called the Green Berets in, and it's on page 3.
Exactly.
Sure.
It's like,
it's like right in there.
It's like the National Guard did.
Exactly. And I was like, well, this is strange. And then after reading the whole thing, I just had a completely different perspective on it. And I was like, wow, that needs to be talked about a little bit, because, and, you know, eventually I ran into, you know, Michael Bouchard's work, and then I realized, well, I guess I'm not the first person to see this. I don't know if you're familiar with his work at all,
Not
or his
particularly.
book. You know,
I've heard the name.
He covered the same thing as my first video, which is just, you know, the more accurate story. But in addition to that, he was able to find Harold Key, you know, the key witness in the case, before he died, and interview him. You know, but when I talked to him, I asked him if he had a recording of that conversation. He doesn't. So it's kind of like, well, you got to take his word for it if you want to. But when he talked to Harold Key, he just had a completely different story than the one everyone was familiar with.
Right.
And involving a white car. And, you know, that white car story is actually, we can confirm it, because there's like 1 or 2 old news clippings that actually mention it. Mention a white car being there, where they supposedly saw a guy walking through the woods, and never any mention of him carrying anything over his shoulder.
Yeah.
There was just so many different, there's just this whole mythology that's sprung up around Dennis Martin of, like, inaccurate information. And it really took on a life of its own, because it spawned all this, like, wild man and national park stuff, which I haven't been able to substantiate much of that. It seems like it kind of sprung up pretty much after missing 411.
There's a few interesting historical cases of wild men, people who have just regular people who have chosen to go out and live in the wilderness, or like, they were dealing with mental health stuff. And you get these like near feral people that are out in the woods, but it's usually an individual case. I think it's probably compounded by the folklore of the area, of course. I mean, if you look at basically anywhere in the United States, especially the places with a lot of woods and mountains, you have stories about wild men. The one we like to talk about a lot is the Saskats up in British Columbia. I don't know if you've heard of that one, but it's like the origin of Sasquatch.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and
I mean, yeah. You can... Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, is like, that original story is about a race or a tribe of near humans, people who are exceptionally tall and hairy and strong, who live out in the mountains. and they're not sure exactly what they are, but they're kind of us, but not quite us. And this is that Sasquatch word is what ended up being Sasquatch in the work of J.W. Burns. So you get sort of these. In my opinion, that's got a lot more to it than just these kind of vague stories about like somebody saw some hairy dude carrying a thing up a mountain.
And a key piece of information about there that I just want to add to that is that, at least for me, what really substantiated that story was the account from the Sasquatch to, what was it, the guy's name again that was doing the research?
J.W. Burns. It was the Coast Salish talking to J.W. Burns about the Sasquatch.
The story that they said was that the Coast Salish and the Sasquatch were able to communicate via language. That the Sasquatch had their own language, but they also understood the Coast Salish language, so they were able to communicate that language.
Specifically the Douglas language.
Yeah, but
interesting.
But they had their own. So that really gave a lot of credence to this whole idea of like, maybe it was just the remnants of a different hominid that hasn't been really like focused on yet, versus the whole, you know, apes in the mountains thing. But then again, the whole Roanoke story throws that.
Oh yeah, we also
in there.
In some of the documentation from Jamestown, around the same time in area as Roanoke, one of the British writers talks about the Native Americans hunting apes in the mountains, and the only mountains available there are the Appalachians.
Interesting.
There haven't been apes in the Appalachians for 26 million years, aside from us. So what were they talking about? Was this a mistranslation? Were the apes like other less civilized Native American? Like, a lot of really interesting questions arise from it. But when, like, of course, going back to the Dennis Martin thing, that doesn't quite track with it. And I've been to the Smokies. I've been to that exact trail in the Smokies. It's not as in the middle of nowhere as it would need to be. It's like 3-4 miles from a road. And that's just not enough distance. I mean, obviously in the 1960s, it was a little different, but you know, I found it interesting that they even included the part about like seeing a hairy looking creature running up the side of a mountain carrying something over its shoulder, because it's not necessarily even connected. It was also people who weren't even involved. And some people might say, you know, oh, well, since those people weren't involved and they reported that would lend credence to it. And I'm like, well, or they heard about it and decided this was their 15 minutes of fame. But what I guess I would be curious as to your opinion for this is they never found Dennis. What do you think happened?
I mean, I put my money on two options. One, he either did get kidnapped somehow, some way, because, you know, even though that doesn't seem to be a Bigfoot, there was a guy seen at Rowan's Creek walking around the woods, and a child's scream was supposedly heard, and that man drove away in a white car. How that guy could be connected to the scream, I don't know. Is he at all connected to Dennis Martin? I don't know. A shady guy who's kind of nearby, maybe. And the FBI files talk about they may have had a suspect, but so much of it is redacted. It's impossible to really know what they had on this guy. And it seems like some, Michael Bouchard calls him just a jailhouse rat who was just kind of maybe making up a story. But, you know, on the other hand, there's, you know, Dwight McCarter talks about the ginseng hunters who came to him and said they found a little boy's skeleton in Big Hollow, and that they'd never reported it because they were illegally harvesting ginseng at the time.
I did come across that one.
And, you know, I mean, maybe. You know, because if he ran, I mean, it would be easy enough to die from exposure if he got lost. They found some footprints at one point, you know, and
only one of them had a shoe.
Right. One of them
found
had
the
a
other shoe.
Exactly. And, you know, I mean, there's sometimes people just aren't found. And you know, Dwight McCarter said he smelled what he thought was a rotting body down on West Prong Trail, which is in the direction of Big Hollow. And they told him, oh, we already searched that area. You don't need to go looking there. You know, could he still be out there buried underneath tons of foliage? Maybe.
Probably would never find him at this point.
Probably would never find him at this point. It's been so, I mean, I doubt we'll ever really get an answer to this one, but I don't think the answer is Bigfoot or cannibal wild people in the Smokies.
Do you have any any superstition in you at all? Like, is there any? Do you leave room for some of the paranormal, or are you very
Yes,
like,
I don't.
facts and
I don't
logic?
know why everyone thinks I'm such a skeptic. I don't understand this. What the hell? I don't believe in Bigfoot, but I
Mhm.
believe there's enough evidence that we should take it seriously.
Right.
Instead of laughing at it, the moment you start talking about Bigfoot, some people just throw you right out the door, and
Mhm.
okay, he's gone insane.
Yeah.
But like you were just mentioning, there's so many old stories and stuff of something that sounds an awful lot like Bigfoot
Mhm.
or Sasquatch, told by natives, all sorts of things. I mean, and even old newspapers talk about sightings. I mean, this wasn't a thing that was just invented in the modern day.
Mhm.
It's been around pretty much as far as we have recorded history.
Yeah.
That's that's interesting. I mean, you got to take that seriously. So, I mean, I'm absolutely open to it. I mean,
Mhm.
I haven't seen the guy yet, but I do a lot of hiking. I'm always on the lookout. I mean, I obviously UFOs aren't really like a thing you have to believe anymore. They're
Mhm.
obviously real, but I mean, I'm totally into that.
This is so funny because that's exactly what we were talking about before. Is the whole Skinwalker Ranch and aliens thing.
Well, it's funny when you're talking about Skinwalker Ranch and like the lights they see in the
Mhm.
sky, and I saw one of those like the other couple weeks back. I posted it on Twitter, and I don't know what it was. I
Yep.
mean, it was like a bright light. It was going north to south in the sky. I
Mhm.
looked at it through binoculars first. It was just a huge bright orb. It was dark out. Kind of the sun had just went down. It wasn't completely black, but just a big orb of light in the sky. And then it made a right angle turn, started heading east, which was odd,
Mhm.
you know, and I filmed the thing, but it's just this bright orb of light moving in the sky kind of
Right.
strangely. And I mean, it's a UFO because I don't know what it
Because
was,
it's
but was
identified,
it,
it's flying, and it's an
was it
object.
exactly? Yeah. Was it aliens? I have no
Mhm.
idea. I mean, it moved. Its movement kind of made me think it was a balloon, but I don't know why it would look like a giant orb of light.
Right.
And it wasn't a satellite because of the movement. And I am really good at recognizing satellites in the sky. I see them all the time, or the International Space
Mhm.
Station. Uh, so, I don't know what the orbs are, but I know. I mean, I've watched the Skinwalker Ranch show a few times, and it's I don't know if are you
Every time
guys
I
talking
start, I
about
get
that or
frustrated.
yeah,
Every time
exactly.
I start that show, I get angry.
Well, give context, especially with the most recent video of like why the most recent owner of Skinwalker Ranch makes you.
Oh, well, I mean, it's not even just the most recent one. Just watching the show in general, I'm like, oh, come on, guys. But the current owner, Adamantium Holdings, all of their trademarks are for entertainment. It's all about producing TV
Right.
shows and media, movies, recreational facilities, all of that. And I mean, they're not going to let anybody get an answer because the second there's an answer, it's over. There's nothing.
Right.
If you confirm it, there's no mystery. It's been confirmed, and the government probably comes in and says, "Hey, no, this is ours now." And if they don't confirm it, the property is worthless. Now it's just a ranch in Utah. So I mean, it's the same thing with Oak Island, which, in my opinion, is a little bit more interesting, and I can't explain exactly why because Freemasonry. But the Oak Island stuff, they did the same thing. They got commercial rights to it, and suddenly we needed 11 seasons of the Secret of Oak Island or whatever it's called.
Have they dug up the treasure on that yet? I haven't kept up with that. It's been like,
Nope, they
yeah,
found a couple like
okay,
coins, I think, that they may have
okay,
placed there themselves. Because no,
yeah,
they're gonna run the show until there's no show to run anymore, and then they'll pack it in. Probably not even come up with a conclusion. They're just gonna write one because I mean it's reality TV. Reality TV isn't real.
Nope.
What
yeah,
we do is real for the most part. Going and talking about these cases and digging up the actual files and trying to interview people, but we don't have a producer hanging over our heads, you and us. It's just like we can do what we want as long as the algorithm allows us to do what we want, which is a little different. Have you ever gotten the context box?
the context
Oh yeah,
box.
the dreaded Wikipedia context box under our video.
I don't think so.
We've had it a few times now.
Oh yeah,
We had it for the Illuminati, Freemasonry, Bohemian Grove. Anything else?
Not that comes to mind.
I think
no.
those are the three that we had it for.
We're just kind of saying like, oh, this is a conspiracy theory.
Yeah,
And,
not even. It's just like, no matter. It's just YouTube algorithmically like, we don't know what this person's about to say, but here's the very reputable Wikipedia to prove them wrong.
Right. Yeah.
Meanwhile, what I actually say in the videos is never like super conspiratorial. Like our Bohemian Grove video, I was like, this is weird. This is some weird theater kid stuff.
Yeah, it's literally, it's weird, but it's a bunch of old, rich nerds in the woods. So what do you expect?
I know. What did we think they were doing?
Yeah. Have you ever looked?
They worshipping an owl god Moloch out in the woods, and they like to burn effigies of children. I mean,
it's
that's
totally
like
cool.
It's like a Saturday.
Yeah. Have you ever looked into it? Like read through any of their old like plays and stuff?
No, no.
It's some funky stuff if you read through it. Like the owl, the cremation of care ceremony that everyone's familiar with developed after 1906, after the Great Fire of San Francisco. And so a lot of the fire imagery comes from that. Prior to that, they did a similar story about Apollo slaying a demon called Meladon. And a lot of the stuff from the Apollo and Meladon story just kind of translates over to the cremation of care ceremony. And so the owl is Apollo. Meladon is the spirit in the trees and the actual effigy of care. So there's these like... Alex Jones was like, had a lot of the right stuff in the right... He had a lot of the right information in just completely the wrong order. Or he had the right order and the wrong information. It's the Alex Jones, like, always like 10 to 15% there, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He's like a compass that points somewhere on the horizon on the right side of the hemisphere.
He's like the compass from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, exactly.
Where it points you where you're supposed to go, but doesn't tell you what it is.
Yep.
Yeah. He was how I even found out about Bohemian Grove like forever ago when he released that documentary back when he was, I mean,
back
he
before
hasn't
he
changed
was Alex
much.
Jones.
Yeah, right. I know. Yeah, that different time. But,
yeah, could you imagine that, man, if he had been in his prime now?
Oh, I love the video from ages ago where he had Rogan and Joey Diaz on his show, and he was made to look like the sane one.
Yeah,
because Joey Diaz was just going off his rocker. And it was hilarious.
I think if we say Alex Jones anymore in this episode, we're probably gonna get demonetized.
Yeah, exactly.
We had one get demonetized for mentioning a certain conspiracy that starts with the letter Q. So even just to say it's BS,
you guys are playing with fire there.
We really are.
Yeah, we are.
YouTube did not like us last month.
No, not at all.
I always watch what I say sometimes, even to my detriment sometimes, where it's just like I can't even really express how I feel about a case sometimes, like.
Yeah, holding back is often tough. We did the Gabby Petito story. We did the whole thing a year after it happened. I'm in contact with like her family and everything. So I sat with her mom on the phone for like 6 hours, went over the whole story with her, like took the notes and all that, put out like a 45, 50-minute long video in it. And the thing was, I had to bite my tongue the entire time because there were all these things that I wanted to say about Brian Laundrie and his family that YouTube probably would have found to be, calls to violence.
Yep. I've gotten one video demonetized, and I learned that lesson and never again.
What was it for?
Gosh, I forget the name, but it was about it was a case where a mother and a daughter get in a car accident and then they die from hypothermia, and they're in the middle of a Texas city. And so they're literally in the middle of a neighborhood. They get in a car accident, and apparently they left the car, but they die a handful of yards away from hypothermia. Yeah, the mom took all of the kids' clothes off. And it's a really weird case.
That is really weird.
I think they demonetized it because it had about a child. I think. Yeah, something like that.
Wait, I wonder what you said, because we did the Boy in the Box case, and there was some graphic stuff in there. Yeah, where I was describing, like, I had to stop on several occasions shooting that video and just breathe.
Yeah, there's some serious abuse that happened in that case.
Yeah.
It's tough to...
Well, that's all... I mean... Because the worst thing in that video that I did was, I mean, there was a picture where there was a blanket on the ground, and underneath the blanket was a body, but you couldn't see anything. So there's no rhyme or reason to it.
Was it just ad restricted or fully demonetized?
ad restricted, which
Yeah.
is kind of the same thing.
Yeah, they're what I've noticed is like, and we even had the manual review for our video on trafficking a couple weeks ago, which of course we use Sound of Freedom for because it's in the news. And YouTube didn't explain exactly why it was ad restricted. They were just like, you violated our policies on controversial content. And we were like,
yeah, broad.
what did we? They're like, review the guidelines so you know what not to do next time. And I'm like, I don't know what I said. Like, can you give me a timestamp as to what can't, like,
Give me a straight answer.
they don't tell
Mr.
us what to
Truth.
edit out of the video. It drives me insane.
Yeah, no, I hate tiptoeing around it, but it's like,
Yeah.
with me, I'm like releasing like a video a month too, if
Yeah.
I'm like on a really good month. So
Yeah.
I can't have that happen. You
So
know?
is this not what you're doing full time?
It's almost full time.
Almost full time?
You know? Yeah. I mean, I got multiple videos usually going at the same time.
Mhm.
And part of my problem is like I'll spend just too long, maybe, you know, it's like this much longer in time to get this much more information. And maybe not the best way to do it, but like I don't know, I just have this thing where I just really like to be thorough.
Yeah. I get it.
And take everything to like the logical conclusion I can. And sometimes that forces me to wait a long period of time. And then, I mean, it is what it, as long as I'm happy with whatever I'm putting out, then, and as long as I'm able to, kind of make a living off it,
Right.
then I'm happy about it. But
exactly. That's that's the nice thing.
Yeah. I mean, just this last month, I got like 4 or 5 videos filmed because, I went out on location a bunch, and, hopefully I'll be able to put those out quick, because that's kind of my favorite part of doing this is, I mean, I love hiking and going outdoors and stuff. It's like my favorite thing. So I really like to actually go to locations when I can, and, seeing some of these places, for like Charles McCullough and Carl Landers, which both had like major obstacles to try and film and get there. And Charles McCullough, I was not even really successful.
He was in a weird spot.
Yeah.
There is enough weirdness about that story, by the way, that I do not understand why the addition of the weird little myth about his pants. You know what I'm talking about with the pants being on the log with the socks still in the, like, I could not find any evidence that happened.
Well, I wonder, I think part of that came from Missing 401 book, because Polity said he interviewed Marion Jack, who is a ranger who came on scene after the hikers found the body. And Marion Jack said when he found the pants, Charles McCullough's pants, it looked like he had melted right down into them, and all that was left was the pants.
Yeah.
But
it's not remotely what the National Parks reports say.
Exactly.
Or the FBI.
And and I don't know. It's hard to know what to believe, if you take Polity's interview at face value, I don't have a reason to not believe it, I guess. But at the same time, another group of people came and found those items before the Rangers did.
Yeah.
And they searched around, they grabbed keys and stuff. Who knows what else they touched. So it's really hard to know what the state, what they looked like when they were initially found.
If it were those two who said that the pants were on the log, it might be a little different. But
yeah, but I don't think we know at all what they found.
No, it's just that I think they just brought in the backpack and that was it.
To be honest with you, after going there, I can't wrap my head around, because I went there, I thought I had a plan to get to the location where he died, and it was like going down these forest roads for many miles, and I found one of them doesn't even exist. It's just completely overgrown, so you can't even trust Google Maps. And I just followed it to the end as far as I could, and then walked straight into the woods. And I love hiking. It's like my favorite thing. But Crater Lake out in the middle of nowhere is the worst place of all time I've ever been. It is a hellscape. It is just fallen timber that is like just huge. You got to crawl over it. There's so many mosquitoes. I was there for like 5 hours, and I came out of there with almost 70 mosquito bites, and a sting or a bite on my forearm that swelled up like the size of an egg. And it was the most awful experience.
Right.
And I couldn't even get to the location where he died because the terrain was so steep in certain areas. And where Bybee Creek, that's the creek where he was found, it's like in like a canyon kind of area. And it's really hard to get down there. So I tried to tackle it for like hours, and I couldn't do it. So I just went to an easier location that I could get to and did some filming there. And I think
for people to really
don't always,
for people to really properly understand how weird that case is, they really do need to understand the terrain. And we tried to describe it, but the way you just described it is so much better. Because it was really like, you can't. I was looking at the map and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense at all. Like looking at the topographical map, reading the description of the area from Charles' dad, who, by the way,
that's the most interesting part of that case.
Charles McCullers Sr. was like James Bond. He does not exist anywhere on the front-facing, public-facing. Somebody was able to find more information about him and email it to us, but like there is nothing on the guy that is publicly available, at least not immediately.
All we know is that he was buried in Arlington. When he wrote to people who had political or
senators responded when he wrote to them.
They'd respond, and that's it.
Yeah. But we are now at 8:20 p.m., so I want to switch over to Q&A. How much time you got?
Okay. I'll hang around however long you need.
Yeah, we'll probably do till like 8:45, I think.
Cool.
If we get there. Do you want to pull up the ones from last stream? Just to have that up?
Yeah, I'll pull them up as well. But just one thing, your mom donated $20 saying, "Can you show us the puppy?"
Of course, Archie, come here. Come say hi. Come on, buddy. Come on.
Oh, I don't want to bring up Devin because she's sleeping.
Just pick her up.
You sure?
We'll go back to sleep. This is our mascot, Archie. He's
very nice.
A very sweet boy. Looks kind of like an elf.
He looks like it.
Yeah, that's Devin, my parents'
Two.
dog. I'm babysitting this weekend.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so we've got 2 puppies this time. And both of them are better behaved than the last time we had another dog here. There was a husky. The husky had opinions. But yeah, if you want to pull up.
Yeah, I'll just, we'll start with these ones.
Sure.
Fan of the channel, question for the whole panel. Is magic real or Clark's third law?
I don't know what Clark's third law is, so I'm going to look that up really quick. As for magic, I mean, my opinion with magic is that magic is science we don't understand yet.
Yeah, I think that's
for the most part. Like electricity would have been magic 200 years ago. So I don't know. Do you have an
Seems
opinion?
like a good definition. Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about like magic, paranormal magic, I mean, I'm sure we understand a fraction of what is possible in this universe, if that, I mean, so yeah, sure, magic exists in that sense.
And of course, apparently what Clark's third law is any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So, yeah, I'm with Clark on that. Let's see, was there another one?
Yeah, we've got Love y'all's channel. Since I found out from the Bible, you want to hear my hair-crunchingly horrifying story of what I thought was a skinwalker? I'm not really sure what it is. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, wait, y'all want to hear my hair-crunchingly horrifying story of what I thought was a skinwalker? Where'd it go?
Oh, no.
I'm not really sure what it is anymore. Yes, definitely. If you want to send it to us via email, that is the best way to send anything long. Oh, are you tired?
Yes.
He's a sleepy yawny boy.
Do you want to ask? Because I feel like there's a couple more. I gotta pull up the old one.
Sure.
But if you do you have any questions for him as well that you haven't gotten a chance to ask yet?
I did not particularly. I was curious about the Yuba County 5, because that's one that we were gonna do, and then Wendigoon did a video on it, and we were like,
his was
you
might want to wait a minute.
Yeah, I'm like, we should probably wait.
Yeah, no, he did a really good job, I thought. When because I watched that whole thing, and there was a few instances where he said some things that I think was like almost a response to my video, and then I realized that I should have been like clearer in certain statements. I think when he was talking about Joseph Shones
Mhm.
and what could have happened between him and the boys.
Mhm.
Um, uh, what always was in my mind was that perhaps Shones had a gun with him,
Mhm.
and perhaps he brandished it in some
Mhm.
way or threatened them that way, and the boys ran off because of that.
Right.
That
And
was always
just
my
really quick
thought.
for the audience, Shones was.
He was like the only witness, basically, to
Mhm.
whatever happened to the boys
Yeah.
because he said he saw a number of people and their car
Mhm.
that night that they disappeared in the location where they disappeared. So
Right.
his story, even though it changed many times, is the only one we
Is the
got.
only one, which is so
Yeah,
frustrating. Like,
and he is a really unreliable guy, and so it's hard to know what to believe about that. Yeah, if you don't know anything about the Yuba County Five, you know Wendigoon's video is great. He's really good at yeah,
yeah.
talking about things and explaining them. My stuff is like very information
Yeah.
driven, and so depending on what you like, go for
Yeah.
either one.
Yeah, I would say this much: if you're going for like, if you want to get like the most accurate possible version of events, I would say your channel is probably where I've seen that the best. Is I seriously, I mean it when I say I think you do great work.
I appreciate
So
it.
if you're looking to get the straight facts without any of the general like storytelling vibes, like obviously you're a good storyteller, but I know Isaiah. I know how that man works. I've shot videos with him. So like there's always some of that like suspense and additional stuff going into it. He's a fantastic storyteller, but he can kind of like meander his way to the point for the sake of telling the story. And I think that your
Yeah,
stuff is very straight to the point and doesn't pull punches and also doesn't try and like cover anybody's ass. It's just honest.
yeah. That's what I try to do. I mean, there's certainly better storytellers than me out there. My goal is always to just uh, you know, tell the most honest story I can with the most, and
Mhm.
be the most factual I can, and give you all the facts so that you can decide for yourself what you think happened.
Right.
I throw my opinion in there too because people
Mhm.
always ask, and and I can't help it sometimes.
Yeah.
I have an opinion like everyone else.
Yeah. I mean,
Absolutely. Next one is Ismai's Conchuber. It's for Conchubar.
uh,
Hello, lads. Long-time viewer of the videos, but first-time live. As an Irishman with an inkling to study history, I appreciate your videos regarding the Irish heritage and mythology. Cheers, lads.
oh, thank you. I
Uh,
know it's not pronounced Concobar. I'm just trying to figure out how the hell it would be pronounced.
Fair.
I know that BH should probably be a V sound.
That makes sense. Fenris Wolf for $10 says, "Be not afraid. Here's your package."
Yeah, we had a joke earlier on the show about how everybody was saying like the Amazon delivery driver is a skinwalker. So we were talking about like biblically accurate Amazon drivers.
Yep. Gotta love it. Richard Henderson followed up for $4.99 saying, "You guys are definitely invited to the wedding if Archie can be the ring bearer."
Oh, absolutely.
Sweet.
As long as you're okay with him wooing.
I mean,
He does howl.
It's going to be required.
Mm.
Miss Maury for $2 says, according to Robin Williams, it's 72 Virginians.
Ah, see, that makes a lot more sense.
Yes.
Also, the same thing. That was a joke directed at my buddies who live in Virginia.
Fair. Ireland Cook for $5 said, finally got a stable job, and to celebrate, I was finally able to catch a stream.
Woo!
Keep up the great work.
Well, thank you.
Also, this is...
You're cooking the entirety of Ireland?
It would seem.
That
or
seems...
cooking for the entirety of Ireland.
That is definitely a stable job. Unless the potatoes
100%.
are not in season.
Memphis Jones...
That's how we got here.
Yes. Memphis Jones for $5 says, enjoy watching y'all, especially Weird Bible with Wendigoon. I learned lots. A few months back, y'all mentioned the Jewish Mafia. Have you read the Newark Minutemen?
That was a lot of words. I guess I now have to look at Newark Minutemen.
Yep.
And also go back and revisit the Jewish Mafia.
Might have to.
It sounds like a ticket to get demonetized
Yeah,
or something,
right.
man.
Yeah, I'm already worried that we said those words.
Yep.
YouTube, please, I'm part Jewish.
Another one from Miss Maury for $2 saying, World War II, Kecksburg, PA, perhaps a cool on-site thing?
I will search up Kecksburg, PA.
And then Floriana G for $9.99 said, for the awoos, great content, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
One thing that was brought up as a regular chat that I wanted to ask is, for both of you in this call right now, thoughts on the Dyatlov Pass incident?
I have thoughts. What are your thoughts? Because my thoughts are not my thoughts are not in line with the mainstream on this one.
I mean, it seems like more. I mean, my opinions have changed over time because it seems like more story has come out, and I mean, I think it was probably they were. I don't know. It's hard to say. I think it could have been some sort of Russians testing some sort of weapons or something, and they got caught in it. That's kind of where I'm at with it, I think.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat because first of all, you tell me that Disney proved anything and I'm not trusting you. And that's the whole thing is like Disney proved the avalanche mechanics with the movie Frozen's stuff. And I'm like, not sure that I buy that one. Also, it doesn't explain anything aside from the fact that the tent was in the snow.
Right.
But like these people cut their way out of the tent from the inside. Didn't even try to open it. Just cut their way out of it with knives. Scrambled all over the side of the mountain. Some people had their eyes and tongues pecked out. Others apparently like were able to put on take clothes off of dead people and put them on and then also undress. Like paradoxical undressing is obviously a thing, but it doesn't make sense in the Dyatlov Pass incident. And then the explanation that they all were radioactive because one of them worked around plutonium sometimes.
Yeah, I don't buy that one. I don't think. Yeah,
that's not enough for all of them to be that radioactive. There was radiation nearby. Something happened. And when I think about it, I'm like, what could cause you to cut your way out of a tent and tear off all your clothes in the middle of the night if you felt like you were burning? So I wonder about radiation poisoning and what could have possibly caused that. Obviously I wasn't there and don't have all the facts, but my opinion is that we do not know what happened to Dyatlov Pass yet, and to say that we do because of Frozen's animation style is a little absurd.
Yeah, I agree. It seems, I mean, I'm sure there's some possibility, because you just got to explain where the radiation came from some reasonable way. And I don't think it's been done yet. Could be Russians testing weapons. It could be some sort of UFO thing that, I mean, that some sort of residual radiation.
It's also one of
we don't know.
3 times that Russians have died in a really strange way in the mountains. Like,
I think there was another one
cases that I can think of where
one of them seemed like another weapons test to me too. I forget the name of it, but group of hikers and they started dying one by one.
It was explained as like gas.
Yeah, like VX gas or something. Yeah,
which I like.
Yeah, I don't know.
But just read it.
Okay, I just want to. Okay, James Knapp for $2 says, "Glad you guys had Nick on." Miss Moore for $2 says, "Kecksburg, PA UFO might have been a Nazi bell."
I am looking at it. It does look a lot like a Nazi bell.
Oh yeah, the Kecksburg UFO.
Yeah, of course.
Bell, yeah.
Yeah, so that little thingy.
Interesting.
I just dragged it onto the screen for the audience. I mean Kecksburg. That's like a 3-4 hour drive.
That's not terrible.
We could probably do that.
Yeah.
We could do it when we go down for Mothman.
Sounds good. When are we doing that?
Going to Mothman Fest.
When is
September. Oh really? That should be fun.
September.
I think like the 15th and 16th, 16th, 17th, something like that. If you can't go, I'll go.
No, I was gonna say this is good to know.
I thought we talked about this like a year ago.
And
scheduling.
What did we learn about me and scheduling?
Yeah, fair. We gotta get better about that.
Been saying we need a secretary for like 2 years. The problem is we still can't afford a secretary.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, buddy.
Weird Collar Guy joined as a member, so we love that.
Oh, thank you.
Killing the official data for 6,050.
That's our Fed.
That. Oh yeah, we have a Fed. Like
actual Fed who watches the show.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. His name's Kellen.
Yep. He's great. He said, Thornberry, before I forget, 6'5", shoes flat and is cool but expensive. Free weight will go nearly the same distance but cheaper and easier to get. Thank you for the ballistics.
I'm talking about guns last stream.
Oh, I love guns.
I'm noticing that you're just kind of a more Western version of us. It's kind of cool. We're running into a lot of these.
It's fun. I asked him his opinion on finding information about the 6'5" Creedmoor versus 308, just because I was curious about it. I've done my research, but I was curious what Kella might be able to find for me. So, and then Megan Gilroy for $4.99.
That is my cousin.
Yes. Said first super chat, hey cuz.
Oh, hi Megan.
And then that's the end of super chats, but I did just see Megan sent another one that says, are aliens real?
That is, you know what? I'm curious because we talked about UFOs and we were like, well, UFOs are definitely real. How do you feel about aliens, like space aliens?
I mean, they're unquestionably real.
Okay.
I guess the question has always been, have they visited this planet? I mean,
so why do you
because in
say
the vast
unquestionably real?
because in the vastness of the universe, with all of the countless galaxies out there, I can't see any possible way there wouldn't be life out there, especially one more advanced than us.
So you're looking at
Uh,
like a Drake's equation angle, like
Absolutely. I mean, I think we probably underestimate how much life is out there. If you look at like a Hubble deep field and you just see all those galaxies out there,
yeah,
or something, or the James Webb, stuff that they've been putting out. I mean, there's no way, just in a little dot, there is so many planets that could hold so much light. I mean, I don't see any way there couldn't be advanced alien life out there other than us and more advanced than us.
So
whether they've come here or not, I don't know.
So of course the classic response to Drake's equation is the Fermi paradox, which I believe his exact words were along the lines of, well, where the hell is everyone then? What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's just that the other civilizations have either not reached faster than light travel, just like we haven't, or that they've died out before being able to get to that point? Obviously, we almost destroyed ourselves multiple times in the last 50 years, so...
Yeah, I'm sure that happens to plenty of places. You got to wonder that if something got advanced enough, it should be able to not be seen by us if they were observing us. And there are so many possibilities for alien life out there, whether that be even something like interdimensional, or I'm sure there's ways of faster than light travel that we don't even know yet or haven't considered. Because I mean, I like you even mentioned in this, same conversation, 100 years ago, what we knew and what we thought we knew is vastly different than what we know today. And I mean, imagine a civilization that's way more advanced than us. They probably have technology we can't even imagine, and it would seem like magic.
Yeah. Might
so
not even perceive of us as intelligent. Like,
yeah,
right,
honestly.
I mean, we've seen that with our own like differences between countries and cultures. Like the Greeks looked to everybody who didn't speak Greek and were like, you're not real.
My biggest curiosity, and this is getting into my little bit of science nerdism thing here, but like everything on this planet's a carbon-based life form. I'm curious if so, what other forms of life are based around if not carbon?
I think we found arsenic-based life on one of Jupiter's moons, if I remember correctly.
I'm gonna have to look that one up.
I might be completely wrong about that. It also might have been that we found it on planet and they theorized that it must have come from off planet.
I think they might have found that on planet, because I'm not sure how they would have got a specimen back.
Yeah, I might be just mixing something else up with them finding life on one of Jupiter's moons.
From phys.org, the bacterium in arsenic-rich Mono Lake was said to redefine the building of blocks of life, surviving and growing by swapping phosphorus for arsenic in its DNA and cell membranes. Biologists consider these 6 elements as necessary for life: carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur.
So it's not that it's carbon-based, it's that it swapped phosphorus for arsenic. Which is so far beyond any of my understanding. I still vaguely remember what ATP means. I don't remember what the process is. I just remember it's adenosine triphosphate.
But you remember what the powerhouse of the cell is, right?
The mitochondria, of course. That's the only thing I remember from high school biology.
There we go.
I think there's
yeah, we do. Yeah. Jim Fish for $10 says, I live near Skinwalker Ranch, and there's a lot of weird stuff happening in the basin. I also have a video of a green fireball in the sky that I caught with my dash cam. Would y'all be interested in it?
Yes, absolutely.
Please email us.
It's thelorelodge@gmail.com.
Yeah, we want to see it. Kellen, the official data for $2 says, tread light around UAP and UUP.
Wait, what's UUP?
I have no idea. I don't know what either of those are.
Unidentified plane?
Unidentified underwater? I don't know.
That seems feasible. That makes a lot more sense than what I said.
Is that what it is? Unidentified aerial phenomenon?
I thought they used to call those USOs or something. But
what would that be? Unidentified submarine object?
Submerged object.
Interesting.
U-boats.
Kellen, give us more reasons why we should be treading lightly. History Daddy for £2 says, Enigma is spot on about aliens, in my opinion. but in my opinion, aliens have 100% visited.
Yeah.
I think if they were near enough, I don't know. The physicist I was talking to last night thinks that we might have. It wasn't Vega.
Well, didn't you know that the Anunnaki came here from the 12th planet, Nibiru, to create humans to mine gold? I know it because a man who didn't know cuneiform told me that. I'm not a fan of Sitchin.
I understand. Yeah.
I am a Heiser guy when it comes to all the old stuff, and he definitely had some things to say about Zechariah Sitchin.
Yeah.
Whew.
I mean, what that guy said, though, I mean, I can get on board with that because there's a lot of UFO sightings. There's a lot of incredible footage over a course of a long period of time that I'm not convinced is created on planet by nation states. I mean, I guess before I commit to something, I just need something a little more. But I mean, there's totally enough evidence for someone to, have that position.
Yeah. Where
they
I think
visited.
I netted out with the more recent hearings too was I did not like that they answered the question, were there pilots with there were non-terrestrial biologics? Because that could simply mean that they were things from the air. There are bacteria that float. That could simply be that. What I do wonder is if the reason he answered the question that way is that he couldn't say, well, it wasn't bacteria, but it also wasn't pilots, and explain that in a congressional hearing. Because for me, I'm thinking about like 2001: A Space Odyssey. Obviously, HAL is an AI. But what if instead of doing an AI, you programmed microorganisms or some sort of multi-celled living organism that can pilot something, like using biological technology?
That's the kind of thinking.
Like that's what I'm like. All right, if that's what they meant, now I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you're just going to tell me there's non-terrestrial biologics, I'm going to look at you and be like, can you say that in English that is not derived from Latin?
So to simplify what you were saying, basically a biological autopilot.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. I don't know. I just, as the resident film person, I have to quote Contact and say, if it's only us, that's an awful waste of space. So.
No, this is the U.S. We just manifest destiny into space.
I mean, if we're the best the universe has, that's a real problem.
Yeah,
seriously.
it is. Yeah.
I don't want to see the worst of the universe.
You know what?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
Too.
I'm wondering when we're gonna create space stations that are not essentially capitalist space stations that are based in orbit, that are there to build ships in orbit with materials from space.
Have you seen The Expanse?
No.
Have you seen The Expanse?
I'm a Star Trek guy.
I think you'd both like The Expanse.
Or which version of Star Trek is your top tier one?
TNG. Gotta be.
Isn't that everybody's answer?
If you're a fan, yeah.
I mean,
the obvious
DS9 is a close second for me, to be honest with you.
I liked Voyager.
I'm a big fan.
I liked Voyager. I didn't
I'm
like
not
it
a
as
fan
much
of
as Next
Janeway.
Generation. Really?
Yeah.
I haven't watched Voyager since I was a kid, to be fair, so it might have just been the, 10,
the other
12-year-old
characters
me.
are great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Star Trek's just a cool concept.
Have you watched any of Picard?
I literally only watched the third season because I heard it's the only good one, and that was a good season. I really enjoyed it.
Stacey Abrams is president of Earth.
And I think that's I haven't watched that one. That's the whatever that other one is.
Okay, it's the other
new
Star Trek show.
I don't even know. I don't like
because I remembered seeing that and I was like,
Star Trek has changed.
Weird.
Yeah.
So, could you imagine if Reagan was on the Next Generation or something?
Yeah, I
probably would have been sick, honestly. I would have 100% loved to see Reagan on Star Trek.
Yeah, it'd be cool to look
because he
back
was an
now,
actor. And it would just been a fun thing to look back. Hey, Biden was in Parks and Rec.
Really?
Trump was in The Apprentice.
Well, that was his show.
Obama was in a lot of Vines.
I mean, politics and TV, they're kind of the same thing now.
Yeah. Well, once Clinton went on late night with his saxophone, I think it changed the game.
I cannot believe this entire country believed that man when he said he did not have sexual relations with that woman. Man got on national TV and did a saxophone solo.
Oh, ridiculous. Miss Mori for $2 says Janeway is my hero and role model, but DS9 heart.
All right. Well, we are getting to the point where we are actually beyond where the show was supposed to go. So, you know, is there anything you want to say? Any stuff you want to shout out? You know, places that people can find you they might not usually.
Yeah, my channel's The Missing Enigma. Check it out. I think the videos I produce are pretty good, and these guys think so too. So
yeah, big fans.
You just got to wait for them, I guess. But follow you know what? If anyone who likes my stuff wants to follow me on Instagram or Twitter, apparently I have so few followers on there that people think I almost don't even exist. So follow me on Twitter or Instagram. I'm trying to post more on there now, and you'll get to see where I'm going, which will give you a hint as to what my next videos are.
Awesome.
You know, so, and there's good stuff coming up.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. You know, it was awesome to have you here. Sorry about the mix-up with scheduling. That was 100% on me. It was not that we were trying to, like, mess with your time. I was just like, wait a second.
I understand. No, I'm sorry to interrupt your Skinwalker Ranch show.
No, honestly, I'm glad you did, because this was a way better conversation than we were going to have.
All right, fair enough.
Thank you. And, you know, if we ever come across stuff that, you know, you've covered or that, you know, that you'd like to talk about, we would love to have you on again to talk about some more specific cases and plan it out ahead of time.
Yeah, happy to do that. You know,
yeah,
I'm pretty available.
And anything that you are working on right now that people should be excited about?
The next thing that's coming out that I'm looking forward to releasing is a very long video on the robot grandma case, for those who are familiar.
Ooh, Shasta.
And
Shasta.
Oh, yeah. Right outside of Shasta.
I learned the hard way that if you say it wrong, people will comment about it for over a year.
I used to say Appalachia, and
Same.
people used to hate Appalachia, I guess, huh?
Yeah, that changed for me when Wendigoon told me I sounded like a Fed.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, well, in that case, Appalachia all the way.
Yeah.
The comments will always be there to correct you.
Exactly. And Leo Estelar, you didn't miss Blink-182. We just didn't manage to get to the Blink-182 stuff. But the Blink-182 stuff was that Tom DeLonge was in communication with John Podesta, the chief of staff for the Hillary Clinton campaign, and agreed that if she was elected, she would reveal the aliens. It's a real thing that happened. It's in the WikiLeaks emails. I wasn't even looking for that when I was reading the WikiLeaks emails. I was just curious what was in there, and it turns out that Tom DeLonge, if you've seen him on Rogan, I'm sure you've seen the interview he did with Joe, but, like, he sits there and he's like, yeah, the Department of Defense basically hired me to be, like, the go-to, the point man on aliens because the kids love me. I was like, oh,
yeah,
okay. So aliens exist was propaganda, not just a fun little song. Got it. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, man. We loved having you.
No,
and
appreciate it. Thank you for making the time.
Yeah, and we will reach out again next time we're doing something on Missing 411, because we're going to have a few more videos coming out in the next month or two, and I'd be curious to get your take on some of that stuff. But thank you so much, and we will see you on the next one. Right.
All right. Take care, gentlemen.
And see you guys, chat. Thank you so much for watching. Bye, guys.